We are watching children and families starve in Gaza, but don't even think about trying to do anything about it, and especially don't try and hold a bake sale to raise money. European leaders were scolded for holding a bake sale to raise money for the Red Cross in Gaza because EU officials said that it made Jews feel uncomfortable. A leaked document shows that the EU staff in Brussels organized a good old-fashioned bake sale last May to raise funds for the Red Cross in Gaza. But the EU's anti-Semitic czar, that's a real job.
Can you imagine?
We don't have to imagine. She exists. Her name is Katharina von Schnurbein. I don't think I said that nicely, but that's how I think it's spelled. She objected. She warned that it could stoke anti-Jewish sentiment and claimed that it helped the media ignore Israel providing food in Gaza because, hey, they're not really starving. Israel's providing aid for them. Well, let's check in how that's going, shall we? Israel threw out UN workers a few months ago, claiming that they were tied to Hamas and said, oh no, we're going to handle it ourselves. And they've outsourced the job to US contractors, although no one is really clear on who's funding it. So how's that going, Clayton? How do you think that's going?
Oh, I'm sure it's going well. A lot of this food has just been sitting there spoiling or not being able to be delivered to aid sites. And when they are being delivered, they're being shot at when they're going to these aid sites.
Yeah, I'll just summarize it for you. People are starving to death. The Gaza Health Ministry reports a sharp rise in starvation deaths. And I'm sure you've seen these horrific images circulating online. Now, Zionist apologists will say, oh no, Gaza Health Ministry, those numbers are inflated. We don't really need to feel upset about that at all. They're just trying to get your sympathy. Well, the Wall Street Journal, hardly a fringe outlet, sent reporters to observe food distribution firsthand, and they published this really damning article over the weekend. This is not alternative media, you guys. This is the Wall Street Journal reporting it straight-faced. There are only 4 aid stations in all of Gaza, and the hours are unpredictable. No one really knows when it's going to be open, according to the Journal. Israel says they will open more, but they don't say when. They don't say where. When these stations are open, IDF soldiers admit to firing machine guns and artillery into civilian crowds. Here, Israeli soldiers admit they have fired rifles, machine guns, and even artillery when crowds veered off approved routes or took shortcuts. Soldiers said shots are fired around the crowds to warn them off, but at times directly at people who move in their direction. Now look at this last sentence here. Israeli military says it tries to avoid gunfire, and they review each incident to learn from it to reduce harm. So maybe we killed some civilians. We'll review that later and we will learn from it, they say. You guys, how the heck is this reality? They say,
well, what are you shooting at in the first place?
Right.
Well,
yeah, there's food there. People that are there getting their food. We're picking off the terrorists. As they
we fired into a group of civilians and we accidentally hit a civilian.
Right.
Right. Shocking.
Yeah. Good point. It's like they were in a line. One person put a toe out of line. I believe, though, that those are the stories we were told about Nazi Germany and concentration camps. But, okay, we're doing that again.
While Israelis' military is learning from their mistakes, do the people they shoot for getting out of place, what do they get to learn? Nothing.
Yeah,
right.
Death. They learn death.
Yeah,
how to
they're
be dead.
learning nothing. Great point.
Yeah. Here they say that best practices are they're supposed to shoot at their knees, which is awful enough. But sometimes they miss and they just murder them. Can we put up that screen there? It says, mistakes happen. That's what they say. We're supposed to shoot at their knees, but sometimes we have a mistake and they kill them. Okay. A quick reminder why the Israeli military has to distribute food in the first place, because when Israel began the war after October 7th, they began by systematically destroying all food systems in Gaza. This, too, is not conspiracy. This comes straight from the mouth of IDF soldiers. From this report we told you about a couple months ago called The Perimeter, from a group called Breaking the Silence, which is former IDF soldiers. They describe in detail the grunt work of using what they call the doobie, means the teddy bear in Hebrew, to destroy agriculture, foods, factory, homes along a perimeter in Gaza. This is the teddy bear, by the way. I found this image on Flickr. uploaded, I presume, by an Israeli who thought the rainbow flag was a blessing for the doobie. They have also used mines that are meant for underwater destruction, but they're using it above ground, putting themselves at risk. We know because when Israeli soldiers are killed, mostly it's because the buildings they are blowing up collapse on top of them because it's incredibly unsafe work, this demolition work. According to the report, what they were destroying when they first got started, now this has been for 2 years almost, was mainly fields, agriculture, olive trees, eggplant fields, livestock as well. So why don't the Palestinians have food? Because the Israeli army destroyed it. That's why. One soldier in this report, it really breaks my heart, expressed sadness that this industrial area was once there as an industrial zone set up by the Oslo Accords, which was supposed to be a way that Israelis and Palestinians were going to live in peace and prosperity together, but they've been meant to destroy it. Even this IDF soldier says it makes him really sad to have had to do it, but that's what he was told to do. Now, if you pretend to care about Jewish lives, you would speak out against this because the soldiers who have been tasked with this are committing suicide at even higher levels than ever before due to the trauma. Haaretz, which is an Israeli paper, reports that suicide rates among Israeli soldiers are up since October of 2023, with at least one reservist dying by suicide in a burned out car, multiple others affected by PTSD and trauma. Internal figures suggest that these are underreported numbers and not isolated cases at all. And it reveals the emotional trauma of having to do this to people. The Gaza operations, the shooting at people at aid stations, watching vulnerable people. So yeah, when you pretend to care about Jewish lives, you have to look at these Jewish soldiers suffering because of what they are made to do. So given this reality, can you blame any warm-blooded human for wanting to bake a tray of cookies and have a bake sale for Gaza? That's literally the least we can do. But clearly the European Union is not run by warm-blooded humans. So let us know what you think of this.
Douglas Dauntless says redacted is virtue signaling. Virtue signaling.
How? What did I do? I didn't bake any cookies.
We didn't bake any cookies. Also, we hate genocide and ethnic cleansing. So that's my virtue, and I'm signaling it to you. We're pretty much anti-war.
Man, you must think a lot of yourself for that opinion.
Anti-genocide, anti-ethnic cleansing on this show. So yes, that's our virtue, and we're signaling it to you.
But the whole Israel is just defending itself against terrorist narrative falls apart the moment you start bulldozing crops. Like how many
Yeah.
Like what they're like, well, we'll starve the terrorists too. Like no, at that point it's a medieval siege. You might
no. Mm-hmm. You would have to be mentally retarded to believe that narrative anymore. We've shown you the billions, nearly trillions of dollars of natural gas and oil off the coast of Palestine. We know exactly what the mission and motive here is. It's a land grab. It's money. It's not Israel defending itself from terrorists. You'd have to be mentally retarded to believe that. And if you are mentally retarded, seek help, because that ship has sailed a long time ago. And if you call out the BS, you're labeled an anti-Semite, or you whatever, screw you. We're done with that. That ship has sailed. I'm sick of that.
We had a viewer ask me to tell you to stop using that word. And I would say that even people who have mental retardation probably understand this. That may be even, beyond mentally retarded. Like you would have to be just so committed to a lying propagandist narrative. You
willfully
have to be
ignorant.
Willfully. It has nothing
ignorant.
to do with mental disability at this point. I think it has to be willful to look away from this.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay.
Nothing funny anymore in our chat says, Palestine is actually very, very rich. Yeah, it's amazing that the BP, British Petroleum, would never really want to work with the Palestinians, actually extricate that oil and natural gas from those lands, because of course the British, we know exactly what the British did to break up that area and hand it over to the Israelis. So they've never been able to extricate all of those riches. Imagine what it would look like if Palestine was able to enrich itself in the same way that Norway was, and able to get all of that oil off the coast of Norway, became the most profitable country in the world by GDP, Norway. So what's the difference? What's the difference? Well, clearly we know what the difference is. You're not stupid. It's just so disgusting. Anyway, I'm sick of it.
Well, you can't be sick of it because it's not stopping. I really don't know. I have a good friend today who really loved the Superman movie, has loved Superman his whole life. And he says, I can't go see it again, even though I loved it, because I can't watch this knowing that it's real, knowing that there are armies attacking children in the same way. It's too much to watch, and
no one's doing anything about it.
And we have no divine intervention. We have no superhero. We have nothing. We can do nothing except sit here together and talk about it while we are allowed. That's literally the least we can do. I would love to bake some cookies. They won't make it there, right? So anyhow.
So Jay the Exorcist Batman says it's mostly gas in Norway. Is it though? We went to Norway and we toured the oil museum there where, it was, I think if I'm not mistaken.
It's LNG. I think a lot of it is liquid natural gas.
So it is,
but they do have,
Tony says I'm sick of it too, Clayton. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Greater Israel Project is real, Red Syrup says. Yeah, exactly. This has always been about a land grab. From the very beginning, this is what this has all been about. It's not about, we're stopping terrorists. That's why they had to create Hamas. You needed the catalyst. They literally created Hamas. Israel and the United States. In the United States, armed them for crying out loud. Mm-hmm. So we needed to create the terrorist in order to land grab. That's exactly what this is about. Wake up. Don't be an idiot. And you guys know better than that.
Right, but look what we're observing, right? We're observing the weaponization of language to squash dissent is being deflated. So people are, you can call anti-Semitic, you can say we're Russian apologists, you can say all of these things, and those terms are losing steam. And I think that that's encouraging. So we have to look at some silver linings. At least we are still allowed to talk about this. At least those words, they still work on Congress, but they don't work on us. Right. And so, okay, let's observe that as the only silver lining I've got for you right now.
Yeah.